Welcome to episode 3 of the Heavy Duty Hub podcast. I'm Jeremy,
And I'm Chris.
and we're back for another round. And the Heavy Duty Hub is powered by Key Advisors. Key Advisors driving real dealership profit. And if you get a chance after today's podcast, please check out keyadvisors.com. There's some podcasts on there, there's some blogs, there's some information about what Key Advisors does and how we do it. And I think you'd be interested in checking out the podcast by the Three Wise Truck Guys. That's on Key Advisors, along with our podcast, which is housed there also, and a couple other areas. And we'll give all that information out at the end of the podcast. But when we start, when we first started this, we asked to give us some suggestions or ideas of what you guys wanted to talk about. And the one thing that kept coming up over and over again was the hiring situation that everybody faces right now. And this seems to be a real problem throughout the industry is, you know, not only getting people, number one, to even show up or, to be able to do the job itself, but a lot of times they're trying to look for experience. And it seems like the experience just isn't out there. Or if it is out there, there's a reason why that person's available on the market. So we're going to talk through some of those things and topics today as we go. And we know that generally, when you start looking for somebody, everybody uses those common job boards like ZipRecruiter, Indeed. Sometimes they use the targeted ones like Automotive News or Wrenchway, and they can bring you in a little bit. But Chris, if you could talk to me a little bit about what you've done in the past as far as tweaking how you're looking for people.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. And I think it's important to understand that, when we target, and I'll use the example of a parts counter person, if our job description just simply states parts counter person and then the description of what the job entails, it really makes it difficult because you kind of limit a lot of potential candidates from applying. If someone doesn't know exactly what a parts counter person is, doesn't sound as intriguing, or they might skip over it. So, one thing that I had done over the years and playing around with things that worked, basically trying to get that candidate pool to be able to have those people to come in, interview, and pick from to make the best suited person or find the best suited for the role. I experimented with titles. So, even though I was looking for a counter person, I would call it inside part sales or part sales. I just by changing those small tweaks, it would get and develop more interest from potential candidates to come in. And really, the difference it made in just that little tweak, I would go from maybe one candidate selecting to apply a week or one every few days to I would have 10 in a week. And I guess in the current market and the way things are, there's strength in numbers. Now, do you want to have 500 people showing up? No, because now you're inundated with selecting who is going to actually come in for an interview. But by going that route, enabled me to find more qualified people that, based on what their resume said, to get them in the door to see if they'd be a good fit. And the other piece too, in talking about once you get that person in, and I've said this before numerous times, and I don't know where I got it from. So if I took this from someone, I apologize. But, I think the other problem we face in this industry is we keep looking for that person that has 20 years experience on our DMS, on ROE, or they have multiple DMSs, multiple OEs. And I like to affectionately call them purple unicorns because in the grand scheme of things, I've never actually seen a purple unicorn because they don't exist. And if you do get someone that does fit that bill and they come through the door, there's a pretty good chance there's a reason why they're walking through your door. Now, with that being said, there are that one off where, hey, the person has a wife that doesn't like the cold weather and wants to move somewhere warmer, and you're in a warmer climate and they've made the decision to relocate. So I don't want to discount that, but in the grand scheme of things, in normal circumstances, you know, uh, that purple unicorn walking through your door, there's a reason why that they would, and it's also that culture problem, right? If I bring in someone new and I have a good culture and everything's working, can that person be absorbed in and assimilate, or are they going to be a disruption? So, just a couple things to think about there, Jeremy. But tweaking the names, I think, is the biggest, simplest way to get more people interested in applying for those positions, whatever the role is.
Yeah, that's definitely so true. In our industry, as long as we've both been in it, we constantly see technicians are a little bit different than parts personnel or sales personnel, and the fact that usually a technician goes to some type of school to train to be a technician, whether they've come up through, the ranks of relatives where they worked in a shop underneath their father or grandfather. They seem to have some type of training that gears them toward the job they're looking for. With parts people, salespeople, there really isn't that training out there. And it's pretty rare that I run into somebody who said, hey, I've always wanted to be a parts guy since I was a kid, or I've always wanted to be a truck salesman since I was a kid. Like you said, they just don't exist out there. So it's very important that when we start posting ads or looking for people, we're not just simply putting, parts manager or parts counter person. Make those postings unique. Get something in there where it drives people to the posting. But a couple other aspects with that is if you're looking for somebody, especially in today's age where everything is so quick, it's all point and click, it's instantly at your fingertips, you really need to simplify the application process. These big long applications and hiring processes, you need to simplify them. And you really need to respond quickly to any response that you receive. You can't wait and accumulate 10 or 12 and then call everybody. As soon as that response comes in, you need to be on it because there's 10 other people looking for that same person you are. The other thing, too, is when you're having interviews and you start to interview, it's important to make the interviews conversational. Don't make them accusing or a page long bullet point drill list of where you're wanting to find this information out about a candidate. The other thing that really bothers me in our industry, again, with parts, service, sales, a lot of times these are people that don't have 4-year degrees. And that's okay because they've got their experience on the job. But the problem with that is a good experienced technician or a parts person or a salesperson, if they're looking for a job and the first thing they see on a job application is requires a 4-year degree, well, that's just eliminated most of your potential candidates that are perfectly capable of doing the job. They just don't have that degree. So we need to think about what we're looking for, who we're looking for, and the backgrounds of the people we're looking for when we have those advertisements and those qualifications. And then we really need to highlight the benefits of coming to work for us. You need to highlight, your care package, health care, dental care, eye care. You need to show them that we have some of the best facilities, we have some of the newest tools. These are all things that entice people to come to work for you. They also need to realize that there's a place for them to grow. Where yes, they may not want to be a technician the rest of their life. They may not want to be a parts guy the rest of their life. Where's the path that they can take so they can see what opportunities there are for them? Hey, our industry is a fantastic industry and one where you can really make a very good living for yourself. It's just getting people to come through the front door is the hardest thing.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, right? And when we have a posting for a job, it's our job to entice that person to kind of make them want to apply to come work for us. What is our culture about? This is who we are. That should be included other than just a generic posting that every other dealership in town has out there. It's what makes us special, what makes us different. And the other factor in that that drives is with our personnel and our potential employees, when we get them to come in, what drives them? You said it best. This is what, if you come work for us today, this is what your path forward looks like. Do you want to move forward, or are you comfortable coming in and being, and I'll use the example, a counter person? Is that what you want to do, or do you want to potentially start there and move up? And I think if, the difference between my generation, your generation, and the younger and newer generation now coming up is we were content with going to work every day, doing our job. And if we got the opportunity to move up, great. If not, we just went in and did our job. Now it's very different. The younger generation wants a clear, defined path forward on, okay, if I'm here, what's my next step? How long do I have to go till I'll get the next raise or the promotion? And if we don't provide them with that, the odds of getting someone to last and stay, it just makes it much more difficult. But more importantly, I think it's, where a lot of companies miss the mark in hiring is that we're always worried about us. Hey, I want to make sure that you're the best fit for us. I always like to say, hey, we live on a two-way street here. Not only do I want to make sure you're the best fit for us, but I want to make sure that we're the best fit for you as well. Because
That's
I,
exactly right.
yeah,
Exactly right.
you have to have that understanding, right? So if you don't have that and you're only focused on you, and you're ignoring what the potential employee wants, the odds of that being a successful relationship, and I say relationship because it is, the odds of it being successful long term are not very high.
Right. Right. It's so funny because, again, both of us travel in North America and we see it time in and time out. You get that old school person where, well, I had four applicants, but the first question they wanted to ask is, what are the benefits and how many vacation days do I get? And they discount them immediately. They need to realize that that is what people want, what they expect, what they're looking for. They're looking for the opportunities that they have, the benefits that you provide. They're not looking to come in and work a 12-hour day for low pay and a demanding boss. They want that work-life balance now.
Yeah,
And we
quality of
need,
life.
exactly, and we need to adapt. If we don't adapt, we're in the situation we're in now. So we have to adapt that. And there's a couple different ways we can go about that. One, a big one right now is social media. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Put some stuff out there for fishing for employees, referrals from the employees that are currently working for you. And the two that I like, and you have to be very careful because we never want to poach somebody from somebody else. But if you're at industry events and workshops, a lot of times you find out people who are, like you said, maybe they're moving. Maybe they're moving away, maybe they're coming into the area, or you hear of somebody who, hey, this guy's coming up, but we don't have a place for him. So a lot of times at those industry events or workshops, you can find some good quality candidates. And again, I warn you, don't try and go there just to steal people's employees. But we need to start looking outside the box. And when we're doing that, the other thing that I've run across so often, which has benefited me personally over the years, is I look in different areas. One, the accounting department. If you're looking for a quality parts person, the parts department is all math, fact, and logic. And accountants fit that bill perfectly. It's all data driven. Everything in your DMS, if it's set up properly, it's all data driven. Your inventory is data driven. Your sales are data driven. Accounting person fits perfectly. If you go out to buy a new washer or dryer and the salesperson blows you away, maybe he's a potential candidate for your sales department. If you're at a restaurant and you get just exceptional, top notch service from a waiter, maybe they're your next parts counter person or your next salesperson. You have to keep your mind open to different possibilities And it's funny because we get stuck in that rut of we have to have a guy with that 10-year experience. No, give me somebody with a great attitude who's going to show up every day and who cares about what they do and how they portray themselves. I can teach them the business. Give me the quality person. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, you have to grow your own, right? I'm a huge believer and fan of that. But even more importantly, and you're talking about opening your mind, and I'm going to open the mind a little more here. Right now in our industry, and right now we're really just talking today about parts and service, but you brought up accounting, right? So if I hire someone, to me, whether it's parts, service, accounting, sales, it doesn't matter. If we find a good person, it's our job in management and being a manager to retain that person. Even if it's not in our department, we're making the company as a whole better. And I always like to, in as much as it pained me that it happened a few times over the years where I would hire someone and I'd ask them, what is your dream? What do you want to do? And the example I'll give you is I had a gentleman who was in the Navy for a long time, got out and just was cooked, literally. He just said, I need to have a job. I want to be a driver. I just don't want to have to think. And I'm looking to do this for a year or two, before I decide what I want to do next. And as I was talking to him and we were getting to know each other, he had said, I've gone on 10 interviews. And as soon as I've said that, I want to be honest. I don't want to lie to anybody. They never would hire me. So I made the decision that, you know what? He's way overqualified. I think he's going to make us better. He's way overqualified to be a delivery driver, but you know what? He's very intelligent. He knows what he's doing. He can make us better. So I told him, I said, look, I'm okay with that. If I can help you get to that next level, I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. And he was shocked. And fast forward, he ended up staying with us for about 2 years. Great employee, but he made us better. And I was able to bring in new people that he mentored and taught him using his life experience. So even though I didn't retain him, in that short time, he helped us get better as a group, as a company. But I think if I wasn't open to that, I still would be having that turnover and upheaval in that department of just you come in, they go anyway. So I think, the goal is too, when I thought about that more, is I now have a year or two to try to show him that this is where he should be and convince him that our culture's right. And it does work a lot, but sometimes it doesn't. And that's okay, right? You got to use every tool you can to help get your department better.
And like you said, even if he doesn't stay in your department, maybe he moves to a different department in the company, but it's still benefiting the company. The company is still able to take that person and use that person. Again, we have to be open to almost any avenue. And that, the whole time we've been sitting there talking, I've been thinking, Key Advisors does that a lot. We help people find service managers, parts managers, sales managers. We help them find vice presidents, CEOs, GMs. So we help out in that hiring process. And that's really one thing that I enjoy about being with Key is how diverse we are and how many different things we can do for a dealership. And that's one of the things I enjoy is getting to meet new people. And like you said, listen to them, talk to them, have a conversation with them, find out what they want, and then see if you can adapt and make sure you guys meet in the middle. Again, we have to keep our minds open. There are so many people out there, but the key is to be quick.
Yep.
Don't wait. If you have an individual who's looking, jump on it immediately because they will not be out there for long.
Yeah. And I agree with that 100%, but I'll tweak what you just said a little bit more, right? If you really like someone, don't feel so rushed that you can't ask them to come back for a second interview, but do it in a timely manner. I think a lot of people also kind of get lumped in that I've got 20 minutes to get through this. I always would set not a time limit, but I would always block out at least an hour to do an interview. And I felt if I didn't give an hour, I didn't give that candidate a fair shake to get to know them because people are nervous, right?
Right.
And if you detect that, I think your best bet is to, if you detect someone's nervous, ask the question, hey, are you nervous? De escalate that because we all go through that. And if you can get through that nerves, that might be your best candidate. They're just nervous because they don't know you. They really want this job. So I always love to just have a conversation. Hey,
Yeah,
what do you like
absolutely.
doing? Find commonality, right? And go down that road. I think that is where you win. Don't be a robot. Don't have 10 questions and just read your 10 questions. Is this what, where do you see yourself in 5 years? My least favorite of all, but it gets asked all the time, right?
Yeah, right. Yep.
So
And,
don't be a robot,
yep.
but just don't be afraid to be personal either. So I have a sneaky feeling, I know we're coming up on the end here. We'll talk about this some more. I'm fairly certain in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this has been a big topic. A lot of people are concerned about it. A lot of people ask us about it. But you're right. We are out of time. We promised everybody we'd keep these to about 20 minutes. So at the end of this, we'll have all of our info, the heavydutyhub.net, keyadvisors.com. We're on YouTube. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on those websites. We'll post all those at the end of this podcast. And we really enjoy doing this. We truly do. This is episode number 3. We're going to try and get 2 episodes out a month. So stay tuned. Episode 4 will be out shortly.
We're not going to try, we're going to do it. We're doing this. No, it's in all seriousness, yes. Our links will be in here description as well. And like and subscribe. That's how we can reach more people. If you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and tell your friends. Let them know this is out there. We're new in this platform and segment and we really want to reach as many people as possible. And don't be afraid to ask questions. We're here for you. We'll provide
Yep.
all of those links.
Yep. Keep those ideas coming in, and we'll discuss them as we go. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and look forward to episode 4.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Goodbye.